How did a patent clerk who struggled in school become the face of genius itself? The story of Albert Einstein is more than just E equals mc squared. It's a tale of curiosity, rebellion, and a completely different way of seeing the world. Let's unravel the real story of how Einstein became Einstein. Born in Germany in 1879, young Albert wasn't exactly a child prodigy in the traditional sense. He was a late talker, and his teachers often found him dreamy and distracted. They complained he was slow and would never amount to much. But what they saw as a flaw was actually his greatest strength, a deep, insatiable curiosity. While other kids were memorizing facts and figures, Einstein was pondering the unseen forces of the universe. One of the most famous stories from his childhood involves a simple magnetic compass his father gave him. He was just 5 years old, sick in bed, and this little gadget absolutely mesmerized him. Why did the needle always point north, no matter which way he turned the compass? This invisible force, acting at a distance, sparked a lifelong fascination with the hidden laws governing our reality. It was a moment of profound wonder that set him on his path. This wasn't about grades. It was about a genuine desire to understand how things work. His formal education was a constant struggle. The rigid rote-learning style of German schools felt like a prison to his free-thinking mind. He famously said, "It is a miracle that curiosity survives formal education." He hated the strict discipline and the emphasis on memorization over genuine understanding. So what did he do? He taught himself. He devoured books on physics, mathematics, and philosophy, far beyond what was required in his classes. He was learning on his own terms, following his own interests. At age 16, he tried to get into the prestigious Zurich Polytechnic, but failed the entrance exam. Yes, you heard that right, Einstein failed. He excelled in math and physics, but his scores in languages, zoology, and botany pulled him down. So he spent a year at a different school to catch up, and on his second try, he made it in. Even then, he wasn't a star student. He often skipped lectures he found boring, preferring to study the works of master physicists on his own time. He relied on the detailed lecture notes of his good friend Marcel Grossman to cram for exams. After graduating, another hurdle. He couldn't find a teaching job. No professor would recommend him. They saw him as a rebellious and uncooperative student. For 2 years, he drifted, taking tutoring jobs to make ends meet. It was a period of great uncertainty. Was he a failure? It certainly must have felt that way. Finally, through the help of Marcel Grossman's father, he landed a stable job in 1902. It wasn't in a university or a lab, but at the Swiss Patent Office in Bern. And this, surprisingly, was the perfect place for him. His job was to evaluate patent applications for new inventions. This task forced him to break down complex ideas into their fundamental principles day after day. He had to think critically and practically about how things worked. And the best part? The work wasn't too demanding. It left him with plenty of time and mental energy to ponder the big questions that truly fascinated him, the ones about space, time, light, and gravity. The patent office became his sanctuary, a place where his mind could roam free, far from the pressures of academia. Then came 1905. Historians call it Einstein's annus mirabilis, or miracle year. He was just 26 years old, still a humble patent clerk. In a single year, he published 4 groundbreaking papers that would forever change the course of physics. Think about that, not 1, but 4. First, he explained the photoelectric effect, showing that light can behave as both a wave and a particle, a concept that laid the foundation for quantum theory and would eventually win him the Nobel Prize. Second, he provided a mathematical explanation for Brownian motion, the random movement of particles in a fluid. In doing so, he offered concrete proof of the existence of atoms and molecules, which were still a topic of debate at the time. Third was his paper on special relativity. This is where things get really mind-bending. He proposed that the laws of physics are the same for everyone, and that the speed of light in a vacuum is constant, no matter how fast you are moving. From these 2 simple ideas, he derived some shocking conclusions, that time and space are not absolute but are relative to the observer. Clocks can tick at different rates, and lengths can contract depending on your speed. This completely overthrew centuries of scientific thought rooted in Newton's ideas of absolute space and time. And finally, as a kind of follow-up to his paper on relativity, he published a short addendum containing the most famous equation in history, E equals mc. This elegant little formula revealed a fundamental relationship between energy and mass, showing that a tiny amount of mass could be converted into a tremendous amount of energy. It was a concept that would later pave the way for nuclear power and the atomic bomb. So, how did he do it? How did this one man, working largely in isolation, revolutionize science? A key part of his genius was his use of thought experiments. Since he couldn't actually travel at the speed of light, he would imagine what it would be like. What would you see if you rode on a beam of light? He would visualize these scenarios in his head, playing them out to their logical conclusions. This ability to visualize abstract concepts allowed him to see connections and paradoxes that others missed. For example, his journey to general relativity started with another simple thought experiment. He called it his happiest thought. Imagine a man falling from a roof. While he's in freefall, he doesn't feel his own weight. For him, in his little bubble of space, gravity has momentarily disappeared. From this simple image, Einstein made a monumental leap. He realized that gravity wasn't a force pulling things down, as Newton had described. Instead, gravity is a curvature of spacetime itself, caused by mass and energy. Massive objects like the sun literally bend the fabric of space and time around them, and planets like Earth are just following these curves. This was the theory of general relativity, which he completed in 1915. It was a masterpiece, a beautiful new description of the cosmos. But Einstein's genius wasn't just about raw intelligence. It was about his character. He was fiercely independent and nonconformist. He questioned everything, especially authority. If an established theory didn't make sense to him, he wasn't afraid to challenge it, no matter how famous the scientist behind it was. This rebellious spirit is what allowed him to break free from the centuries-old dogma of Newtonian physics. He also had incredible persistence. The journey to general relativity took him 10 years of grueling intellectual effort. He made countless mistakes, went down numerous dead ends, and had to learn complex new forms of mathematics to formulate his ideas, but he never gave up. His passion for understanding the universe drove him forward. So, when we ask how Albert Einstein became a genius, the answer isn't a single simple thing. It wasn't just that he was born with a big brain. It was a combination of factors, an intense childlike curiosity that he never lost, a rebellious spirit that refused to accept established dogma, a unique ability to visualize complex problems through thought experiments, an incredible persistence in the face of failure, and even a bit of luck, like landing a job that gave him the freedom to think. Einstein's story teaches us that genius isn't about being perfect. It's not about getting straight A's or never failing. It's about nurturing your curiosity, daring to ask big questions, and having the courage to follow your own path, even if it's different from everyone else's. He showed us that the most profound discoveries often come not from a place of authority, but from a place of wonder. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into the mind of a genius, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories about the people who changed our world. See you next time.